Hello, this is Charles Damaris. I am going to be reading a short story called Remembrance. I wrote this back in 2018. It's a fairly simple story about a man who has two choices to make: whether he can forgive his wife's killer or whether he will hold on to the bitterness that has been eating away at him all these years. So, without further ado, here we go. This is Remembrance. A stooped figure trudged up a well worn path, pausing to lean against the same tree, putting his hand in the same place he had countless times before. A moment's respite, and he walked on, finally reaching his destination. He looked down at the inscription he had been looking at for the last 30 years: Maria Corbin, beloved wife and mother, 1954 through 1988. Good morning, dear, the man said, unfolding a lawn chair and sitting down. I brought you these. He put some assorted cut flowers into the small vase on the side of the headstone. This had been the routine for Mike Corbin, 2 or 3 times a week for the last 30 years. He never remarried, figuring he'd never find a better woman than his dear Maria. There were opportunities. Family members and co-workers had tried to set him up numerous times, but none of them could hold a candle to Maria. Oh, Maria, he continued, I figure I've done told you everything I could tell you, but don't tire of our little visits. It should be me in that hole in the ground, but maybe it's better this way. Can't bear the thought of you grieving me all these years. You being in a better place and all. At least that's what the Reverend said. Wish I could see you again, but me and the Almighty ain't been on speaking terms for a while. I mean, after he had to take you so soon. You'd be proud of Rick. He made partner at that firm that hired him last year. I guess that's good, being partner at his age. He says he misses you, but he was only 6 months old when you left us. I've told him so much about you. Well, parts I can repeat to him. I got memories I keep to myself. Mike wiped a tear from his eye, leaned back in the chair, and took a sip from a flask he brought with him. He took another sip and put the flask away, closing his eyes and feeling the breeze on his face. Dear, it's one of those days you would like. It's not too hot out. It's a nice breeze blowing, like that day we got engaged by the lake. Remember that day? I do, like it was yesterday. I miss the walks we took down there with Rick in the stroller. Last time we were all there, he was interrupted by a buzz on his phone. It was a text from his son. Can't get away from the office. Can you get an Uber home? Rick. Well, that was just great. Hopefully his car would be out of the shop soon. He opened the app and called for a car. Only 5 minutes out. Well, dear, I have to be going. I'll catch you tomorrow. He folded up the lawn chair and began to walk down to the cemetery entrance, pausing again to lean against the tree for a few seconds. Before he got to the entrance, his phone buzzed to let him know the driver was there, and sure enough, when he got there, he saw a blue RAV4 sitting there with a young man behind the wheel. The window lowered, and the man looked at him expectantly. I'm Mike, he said to the driver. Are you my Uber? Yep. Care if I sit in front? Nope, sit wherever you want. He put his lawn chair in the back seat and climbed in the front. Can't say I picked many people up here, the driver said. I'm visiting my wife. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's been a few years. You come often? Couple times a week, sometimes more. More since I retired. What did you do? I was a cop. Well, I bet you have some stories. More than a few. Hey, turn the radio up a bit, will you? I like that song. The song was nearing its end, and it being the top of the hour, the radio station went to a news break. And in other news, Larry Jennings was released from prison today on good behavior. Can you change the channel, please? It's just a news break. Just change it. I don't want to hear any more about that. The Jennings guy? The driver asked as he changed the radio. They were talking about him the other day. Had a life sentence, but they gave him parole. Bunch of folks weren't too happy. That bastard killed my wife. Awkward silence for a moment, and then the driver replied, Dude, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Hey, not your fault. It's been 30 years. Seems like it was yesterday. He was going after me, you know. I don't know much about it. Just what I heard on the news. I put him away in '87, armed robbery and assault. He broke out a year later, wanting payback. Maria's car needed some work. I was off that day. Told her to take mine and I'd work on hers. Damn bomb went off before she got out of the driveway. Was meant for me. Should be me in that cemetery. Man, I don't know what to say. Just get me home in one piece. A few minutes later, the driver pulled into his driveway and ended the trip on his phone. Here you are, you take care, man, the driver said. You too. Thanks for getting me here, Mike said as he reached across and handed the driver a $10 bill. Thank you, you don't have to. Yes, I do. It's what Maria would want me to do. You be safe. Rick Corbin got off work and decided at the last minute to stop and check on his dad on the way home. When he walked in the house, he found Mike sitting in his recliner, sipping from a glass, a half-empty bottle on the end table. Dad, you look like crap. I feel like crap. You hear the news? About Jennings? Yeah, I heard at work. You want to help me with this? Mike said, holding up the bottle. No, and it looks like you've had enough already, Rick said, taking the bottle and heading to the kitchen. Where are you going with that? Doesn't look like you need any more. What would Mom think? That's not fair. What's not fair? Look at you. You've been a wreck since you retired. You go talk to a headstone and drink yourself silly every night. You think Mom would approve? You got no place to talk to me like that. You never knew her. Maybe not, but I've heard enough. What you've told me? What Aunt Cecilia's told me? It's all true. She was a hell of a woman, and she was taken from us. Now Jennings is free, and she's still in a hole in the ground. You think that's fair? He should never get out. Good behavior or not. There's more to it than that. He's got cancer. You think I care? The sooner he's dead, the better. That's why he was released. He's been a model inmate, and now he has cancer. They released him to some halfway house, and he has to go to treatment. Probably doesn't have much time left. Still more time than he deserves. Well, this conversation's going nowhere. I'm heading home. You going to the cemetery tomorrow? I think so. Okay, I'll pick you up on the way to the office. 9 a.m. Okay. After the door closed behind his son, Mike kicked the footrest down in his recliner and attempted to get up. It took 3 tries, and the third attempt saw him on the floor. He managed to get up and stagger to the bathroom where he relieved himself before heading toward the kitchen. Now, where'd that boy put it? He fumbled for the kitchen light switch, and by the time he got the light on, he had also knocked the phone and 3 pill bottles off the counter. He tried to walk across the kitchen to the cabinet where Rick had no doubt put the bottle, but he knocked over 2 kitchen chairs in his clumsiness and awarded himself with a bruise that would look ugly in the morning. Hell with it, he said, turning off the light and heading back to the living room. On the way to his recliner, he reached for the remote control on the end table, but knocked over the lamp and 2 framed photos. He was on his knees next to the table, trying to put the items back. He managed to get the lamp back up after 2 tries, but when he picked up one of the photos, the frame was loose and the glass was cracked. He looked at the photo, taken 30 years ago. A good-looking young couple and a baby, and the memory came flooding back like it was yesterday. Maria had made the appointment at Sears, and they headed there right away after church. He still attended then, more to humor her than anything else, since he knew how important it was to her. The photo shoot didn't start out too well since Rick was crabby and nothing the photographer did could entice him to smile. Finally, the smell gave away the source of his discontent, and after a quick diaper change, his mood improved and they got several good photos. That was the high point of his life. Maria would be dead a week later. The next 30 years were a blur. He poured himself into his work and became one of the best cops on the force, retiring a month ago. He looked at the photo again, and as the memories came flooding back, so did the tears. He sat on the floor, sobbing and clutching the photo to his chest, until he awoke 8 hours later, still on the floor, his fingers cut from the broken glass of the photo frame. He walked to the kitchen, steadier this time, put on a pot of coffee, and ambled down the hall to the shower. 10 minutes later, he was in his recliner, cup of coffee in one hand and remote in the other, turning on the TV. He flipped through the news channels, same fluff on all of them, then settled on one of the local network affiliates with their morning show. Same fluff mostly, but with more of a local flavor. Not far into the show, there was video of Larry Jennings being released and how he probably didn't have long to live. There was video of people protesting, mostly cops, and then a cut to a commercial. Same freaking jacket he had on then, he said to himself. Jennings had been wearing the same Boston Bruins jacket he was wearing 30 years ago when he was arrested. He didn't think too long on how Jennings still had the same jacket after 30 years in prison, and he frankly didn't care. Probably a relative or friend brought it when he was picked up. He sat there, watching but not watching, sipping one cup of coffee after another until he was feeling halfway human. The splitting headache was still there, but he was sober. He was getting too old for this. He looked at the photo on the floor, picked it up, and put it back on the table, and turned off the TV. He was still sitting there, looking at the photo, when Rick showed up at 9 o'clock. Mike got out of his son's car at the cemetery and walked the familiar path, stopping to rest at the same tree and setting up his lawn chair in the same place. He reached into his bag to get the flowers out that he brought and was about to place them in the vase when he noticed that the vase was already full. "What the hell?" he muttered to himself. There was a vase on each side of the headstone, and each one had a floral arrangement in it, and not just some random assortment of cut flowers, but an expensive-looking arrangement. With nowhere to put the ones he brought, he laid them on top of the headstone and sat down. "Well, dear, it appears you have an admirer. Can't think who it would be, but someone has left you quite an arrangement. I'm sure you would love them. I mentioned to you yesterday that Rick made partner, didn't I? I think I did. Anyway, he's quite busy these days, made partner, and he's been married almost a year now. We've got a grandkid on the way soon. I wish you could be here to help me spoil him. Well, I'm sure it's a him, but they haven't checked yet. Andrea is convinced it's a girl. Andrea's Rick's wife. She's a good girl. You'd like her. She's got Rick in church, so I'm sure you'd approve. Speaking of that, I haven't been in quite a while. Just a couple times since you've been gone. Rick tells me I should get back. I know you'd want me to, but hell, anything I say, you just say it's an excuse. And now Jennings is out of prison. Took you away from me, and now he's free. I don't know, girl. Just don't seem right to me." Mike sat back in his chair and reached into his bag. This time, instead of the flask, he pulled out an insulated tumbler with coffee and sipped it while just staring at the sky. Rick was busy, so he'd have to take Uber home again, but he wasn't quite ready to go yet. He sat for another hour, lost in his thoughts and his grief, and then ordered the ride. To his surprise, it was the same driver he had yesterday. "Hi, Mike," the driver said when he got in the car. "Hey, Tony," Mike said. "Didn't figure on getting you 2 days in a row. I'm always in the area this time of day. You hungry?" "Not really. It's a little early for lunch still." Ah, there's a burger joint near my house, you know it? McCormick's? Yeah, that's the place. I've never been there. Let's go there now. I could use a burger. You want a burger? It's on me. Well, I don't know. Come on, man. I just spent all morning pouring my heart out to a headstone. Let's go get a burger. They drove to McCormick's, ended the trip, and went in. Why are you doing this, Mike? Tony asked. Don't know really. My life's a mess, to be honest. I come up here and I go home and drink. I need someone to talk to for a bit, and my son's so busy. Then when he does talk, he's chastising me. I got it coming, sure enough, but it doesn't feel right. Father's supposed to lecture sons, not the other way around. I'm not sure what kind of advice I can give. You don't have to give any, just listen to an old man vent for a bit. And vent he did. For 2 hours, he poured his heart out to the young man. And to Tony's credit, he listened intently, nearly getting choked up a couple times. When Tony dropped him off at home, they swapped phone numbers and made arrangements for the next day's trip to the cemetery. This was the pattern for the next week. Tony would pick Mike up and drop him at the cemetery, and Mike would call when he was ready to go home. They would stop at McCormick's for a burger and a Coke, and Mike would go home. Also, the fresh flowers kept showing up at the headstone, but he never saw who was leaving them or when they were being left. Come in, he yelled at answer to the doorbell. Rick came in and sat down on the couch. Dad, is that a Coke you're drinking? Yeah, guy not allowed to have a Coke? Sure, just not what you had last time I was here. Well, what you said about Maria not approving, maybe you were right. It's not what I expected to hear. It's not easy for your old man to admit fault. What's got into you? Don't know. Been talking to Tony. Tony? My Uber driver. Nice kid. We've been talking over burgers at McCormick's lately. And he got you off the booze? Nah, it just helps me deal with things, I guess. But you want to hear the damnedest thing? Someone's been leaving flowers at Maria's grave. Nice big arrangements. Any idea who that could be? No clue. How often? Every day I show up, there are fresh ones in both vases. Well, it's not Andrea or me. Someone's leaving them in the morning. Maybe you should go early and see who it is. Maybe I'll do that. Let me call. Don't call Tony. We'll go early. Like around 6 o'clock. Once again, up the familiar path, and once again a stop at the familiar tree. What's with the tree? You that winded? Rick asked. Just started doing it a few months ago. Habit, I guess. Well, let's keep going. They got to the headstone, and once again both vases were full with fresh arrangements. Too late, Mike said. How early is this guy? Not that early, Rick said. Look over there. Mike looked where Rick was pointing, and there was a figure walking hurriedly away, almost to another path. Even though the man was some distance away, there was no mistaking the faded Boston's Bruin jacket that he wore. What in the hell does he think he's doing? Mike said when they got back to the car. Leaving flowers, apparently, Rick said. You know who that was? No, but I have a feeling you're about to tell me. That was Larry Jennings. Are you sure? How do you know? The jacket. He was wearing that jacket when I arrested him. And he was wearing it when he was on TV the other day, the day he got out. A lot of Bruins jackets around. In Ohio? And one that old? That was him. Exactly how is this a problem? Is he mocking us? He killed her and now he's leaving her flowers? Maybe he's trying to make amends. I don't care what he's trying to do. He has no business being here. Look, Dad, you don't know his motive here. Maybe it's genuine. He's had 30 years to think about it. Well, I think it's time someone had a talk with him. I don't think I'd trust you to just talk. We'll see about that. Well, I can't bring you back up here. I won't be a part of whatever you have planned. Not wanting to wake Tony up that early, Mike ordered another Uber and was at the headstone at 5:30. This time, the flowers were still the ones from the previous day. He sat down in his lawn chair a few yards away and watched. He didn't have to wait too long. Shortly before 6 o'clock, he saw a figure in a Bruins jacket laboring up the hill. It was Jennings, sure enough. Even after all these years, there was no mistaking that face. Mike watched as the other man set down the box he was carrying and removed two large floral arrangements. He removed the old ones from the previous day and put the new arrangements into the vases, closed the box, and knelt down for a few seconds with his head bowed. Mike wasn't sure, but it looked like he was crying. He wasn't sure how he would confront Jennings, and now that the man was a few feet away, all of his planned speeches went out the window. This was a broken man. He wanted to lay into him, give him what for the 30 years of pain he had caused him, but he couldn't do it. Instead, he walked quietly up toward the headstone and waited for Larry to stand back up and turn around. The look of shock on his face was profound. Jennings took a step back and his mouth just hung open. "Took guts for you to come up here," Mike said. "Mr. Corbin, I don't mean no harm, just paying respects. Least I could do." "Still takes a lot of guts. You didn't think you'd run into me up here?" "Didn't figure you'd be here this early." "Well, I'm here." "If I was you, I'd probably want to punch me about now, or worse." "I can't say that thought didn't cross my mind," Mike said as he pulled back his jacket to reveal a holster. "I wouldn't blame you one bit, and I'd not try to get away either. I deserve it. I've had a lot of time to think about what I did. I shouldn't be alive." "You had a hell of a lawyer." "Maybe, but you give a guy 30 years to think about his sins? Easy for you to say. You're free now. More than I can say for Maria, or me." "Maria's better off than you or me right now." "Is that what this is about? You find religion in prison?" "I made my peace with God. I asked for forgiveness." "So what's the flowers are for?" "They can't bring her back." "No, nothing I can do about that. I can't bring her back. Can't give you back to 30 years. Hell, I have a hard time forgiving myself, but I'm trying. I put her here. Least I can do is pay my respects. Try to say I'm sorry." "And what good does that do? Doesn't put her back in my house. Doesn't give me my wife back or my son his mother. He was only 6 months old. 6 months. He never knew his mother. At least I have some memories to fall back on. He doesn't even have that." Larry wiped a tear from his eye and choked out his response. I know that." "You don't think I've not been thinking about that all these years? Man gets to the end of his life, he wants to make it right. Or at least as right as I can. I'm doing this for my own good. If you can accept my apology and forgive me, that'd be good. If not, it's just as good. It'd mean a lot if you could forgive me, but I understand if you can't. I don't know if I could." "Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot to ask. The other day when I saw you on TV, I was so angry I could have killed you then and there. Still pretty angry. I wish I could just forgive you and be done with it, but I'll be dead soon enough anyway. Maybe then you'll be happy. Yesterday, maybe even this morning, I would have agreed with you. Now, I don't know. I'm glad you have your peace. I wish I could." Mike turned around and walked away, ordering a ride home as he walked, not sure what to think. He was sure he wanted revenge that morning. Now, he wasn't so sure. The man he met wasn't the young punk he had arrested in '88. He was a changed man. He still felt the anger, but it was mixed with pity now. He was living with daily grief. but he didn't have to deal with the guilt Larry had. He had killed people, but always in the line of duty and always in self-defense. What Larry was dealing with was different. Tony picked Mike up at the normal time the next morning, and they headed to the cemetery. Mike made the usual walk, stopping off the tree once again, and finally settling into his lawn chair at the headstone. The first thing he noticed was that the flowers were the same ones from the previous day. So Jennings hadn't made it this morning. Maybe he felt he had done enough. Maria, dear, I don't know where to start. Don't feel much like talking. I met Larry Jennings yesterday. He's been leaving you flowers, thinks he's atoning for what he did or something. He asked for my forgiveness. I think I know what you would say, but now I'm not so sure. A couple days ago I wanted to kill him, and I was prepared to yesterday, but I couldn't. He's pretty sick. Probably won't live much longer, and I thought that would make me happy. Now I don't know. All I know is I miss you something awful. Miss your smile, that cute little laugh you had, and even when you would scold me. I was a better man with you. I tried to live a good life, but it would have been much better with you. I just don't know what to do. Maria, if you could just be here once more, tell me what to do. I'm so lost. He gave way to quiet weeping, sipped his coffee, and sat silently for a couple hours, lost in a swirling confusion of thoughts before folding up his chair and calling Tony. You okay? Tony asked when he got in the car. I think so. I just miss her so much right now. Usual route home? Yeah, burgers are on me today. The top of the hour news update came on the radio, and Tony was about to change the station when Mike stopped him. Convicted killer Larry Jennings, who was recently released from prison, passed away last night from liver cancer. He was 59 years old. He leaves no spouse or children. You can change the channel now. Isn't that the dude that killed your wife? Yeah, I just saw him yesterday. Thought I'd be happy. Now, I'm not so sure. Think we can make another stop before we go for lunch? Sure, where? The coroner's office. No arrangements have been made, Mr. Corbin, the coroner said. He didn't have any family to speak of, at least none that still claim him. I don't think anyone's going to come forward to claim the body, much less make any arrangements. I'll take care of it, Mike said. I'll contact you once it's done. Over the next few days, Mike made calls to the prison, the local funeral home, and the church Rick and Andrea attended. The prison chaplain confirmed what Mike suspected, that Larry had undergone a genuine conversion several years ago, and he volunteered to conduct the service. When the time came, not many were at the church. Mike, Rick, Andrea, and Tony sat in the front pew, while the chaplain paced back and forth looking at his watch. Finally, the back door opened and 2 prison guards came in, escorting a line of inmates from the prison. When everyone was seated, the service commenced. It was a simple service, with some of the inmates speaking a word about Larry, and then Mike got up and stood behind the microphone. A few days ago, I wanted to kill this man. He took from me what I cherished most. Maria, I'm sorry. He took out a handkerchief and wiped the tears from his eyes before continuing. I wanted to kill him. What he did, that's hard to forgive. I'm not sure I ever can. What he had, it was real. What he had, I think I want it. That's all. They proceeded to the cemetery where there was a simple burial service and everyone went home. The next morning saw Mike trudging up the same path, stopping for a rest at the same tree, and setting his chair up at Maria's headstone. He dropped to his knees, sobbing for a few minutes before he opened the box and pulled two fresh floral arrangements out and placed them. Then he sat down and settled in. Maria, dear, lots happened lately. Larry Jennings died the other day and we buried him yesterday. Just a few plots down from you. I guess you already know that, though. You've probably already been introduced. For once in my life, I did what you would want me to do. And I'm glad I did. It wasn't easy, but now I see what you tried to tell me when you were alive. Holding on to all that anger wasn't worth it. Oh, and another thing. I will see you later. Me and the Almighty, we on speaking terms again. Thought you'd like to know that. Well, you know I'd like to sit longer, but I got a lot to do today and one more visit to make. One last thing I need to do. It's what you'd want. He picked up his chair, called Tony to tell him he'd be ready in a few minutes, and walked over a few plots. The headstone was just as he had ordered it. Lawrence Jennings, 1958 through 2018, R.I.P. It was the same kind of headstone Maria had, with little stone vases on each side. He opened the box he was carrying and pulled out two more floral arrangements, putting one in each vase. Then he knelt for a moment, composed himself, put one hand on the top of the headstone, and said in a quavering voice, I forgive you, brother. I'll see you later. Well, I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, you can check out the description below for links to my other work. And if you would like to leave a like and a subscribe, I would also appreciate that very much. Thank you.